So welcome, everyone. So I'm going to be talking this morning about a belief, a very pernicious belief, actually. I'm not good enough or I'm not enough. And I'm going to interchange those two terms. This belief is so widespread that Spa Sanctuary estimated 80% of women have it. So it runs them. And the reason I decided to do this is that it's been my nemesis, really. And it's also something that holds my clients back. It is the belief that holds my clients back the most. And the reason that it has that power, that it's hard to root up, is because it's so vague. It's like, I'm not good enough. For what? You can't get at it. So in this session, I'm going to take you through a powerful process to get to what it means for you, to investigate it and disempower it. I'm going to tell you where it comes from. I'm going to tell you what it looks like. I'm going to open the door to I'm not good enough. So you can go inside the room and take a good look around and therefore do something about it. That's what I want for you. And I'm going to teach you some powerful techniques that I use in my Freedom Formula program with my clients. So you'll need a pen and paper. And I'd like you to start thinking about what I'm not good enough belief actually holds you back the most. And we're going to work with a specific situation later where you have identified this belief leads to an undesired outcome, so an outcome that you don't really want. So let me give you a little bit of background into me first. I've worked in the media for many years. I am an artist. I've been a coach for 7 years, doing leadership coaching and also life coaching. And now I run a program called the Freedom Formula. And the exercise I'm going to give you that we're working through is from the courage section of the Freedom Formula. So it's one that I use with my clients. And people are always curious about my art because it's a bit mad. So I'm going to just show you some pictures of this. This is me baking my body in bread. And I had a performance where I asked people to chop it up and eat it. So I'm quite quirky and I bring that and my creativity into my coaching. I wanted to share with you just a couple of examples of how I'm not good enough has played out in my clients. So Dolores is an incredibly accomplished psychotherapist. She did her PhD and she wanted to write a book, but basically felt she wasn't good enough to do it. So she put it off for 12 years. And we worked through her fears simply actually by comparing her PhD and how that went with her fears about how the book would go. And she got over it. So she's now writing 2 books. And then another client of mine, Natasha, whose parents really put quite a lot of pressure on her to be very academic, become a lawyer. And her wild side, her spontaneous side was really squashed. And she never felt that she was good enough to be that, really. So she kept herself in quite a small box. And now she is really discovering that side of her. I'm going to go through some key principles of the belief of I'm not good enough, because I want you to have some understanding before we go into the exercise. And the first one is that this belief is universal. So as human beings, we developed the ability to judge because we need to assess situations and problem solve. So it's a completely natural thing to do. And the I'm not good enough is just that judgment turned in on ourselves. It's self-judgment, but it's so that we don't put ourselves in situations that will threaten us and threaten our safety. So it's normal and it's very limiting. So it keeps us very small. We let it stop us. We think we're not good enough to start a business, to have a relationship, to get that promotion, to play bigger, to be in our power, to be everything that we can be. Which is why it's really important to work through it, because we would rather avoid taking action to, avoid the risk of failing or being rejected than be publicly seen to be not good enough. And this is a massive self-sabotage, especially when you want to do something new and different or exciting with your life, or change your life in a significant way. So if you want to live your best life and live bigger, we have to deal with that belief, which is what we're going to do. So the next thing is that this belief, particularly, beliefs get set up in our childhood, but this one particularly gets set up very young. So usually 4 or 5. It keeps driving us as adults until we drag it up and really have a look at it. So it's like, I think, it's like turning to a 4 or 5-year-old and taking their advice on whether you can do your job. That's what's going on unless we unpick it. We have to investigate it, explore it, disempower it, and then we can be in control of it. And it's not your fault. I'm going to go over now some of the roots, 4 specific ways that it gets set up in our childhood. Okay, so the first is that if your parents, like Natasha, wanted you to be smarter, to be quieter, to be sportier, to be more sociable, or they favored a sibling over you or compared you to your friends. So they might have said, oh, look at Jane, look at how polite she is, or, oh, you got 70% for that test, i.e., that's just not good enough. And the second way is that as children, we naturally seek love and approval from our parents. We have to, we're in their care. We need their love. And in order to get their love, we have to then hide parts of us that aren't going to be approved of. Then those parts become not good enough. And I call it sometimes the good girl syndrome. We have to appear to be good for them and hide parts of ourselves. And then some children have parents who are unable to offer them an environment of safety. And therefore, as children, we can't trust that our parents will be there for us. And what this again does is call us to act in a certain way to be safe in the environment. And children turn those things into I'm not good enough. And the last situation, and this is, well, quite a few of them are me, but this is definitely me. The last situation is if a parent is vulnerable or a narcissist, emotionally unstable, unwell, addicted, or not responsible in some way. And then the child can feel responsible for the adult. The child wants to fix the parent, but of course they can't. And so this evolves into a belief of I'm not good enough to fix my parents. I'm just not good enough. So that's how they get set up. Now, there are 4 other things I want you to understand about them before we do the belief. And I'm going to share my screen again, just briefly, so that you can see. So we've already covered the belief's universal. It's set up very young. And then the next thing is that the belief serves us in some way. It keeps us safe. It protects us. So an easy way to recognize this with I'm not good enough is that if it stops me from taking action, it keeps me safe from the danger of failing or being rejected. And so I stay safe from that threat, even if it means I keep myself small. Okay. And the second one here is that, now I want to explain this. We uphold the belief to stay congruent. Right. I'm going to stop the share there because I want to talk to you. This is a tricky one. So as we grow up and have experiences, we set our rules for life, our beliefs and our story, really. And subconsciously, the mind wants us to behave in a way that is congruent to those beliefs. So we do things to keep those beliefs alive. So I'm going to give you an example. So imagine for years and years, and this is a real example actually, you stay at a job that is just okay, but you really have a yearning to follow a passion, to start a business, let's say selling surfboards. I'm not good enough will offer you thoughts like, I can't do that. I don't have the experience. I won't earn enough money. I'm not dedicated enough. to stop you from doing it. And those thoughts stop us from questioning the core belief. And if you have taken on that core belief of I'm not good enough to be who you are, I'm going to talk about this in a minute, challenging it challenges your very identity. It puts you in unknown and uncomfortable territory, which humans hate. And so your brain's going to resist it. And instead, it's going to look for things in your environment that fortify the belief that I'm not good enough. It's going to provide evidence for you that you're not good enough. And the next one, I'll share my screen again, is your identity is separate from the belief. So let me tell you about this. If you hold the belief that you're not good enough and listen to it, I am not good enough, you're taking that belief on as your identity. Okay, you and the belief are one, but that's not the case. You are not. You as a person are separate from the belief. You're an identity that has taken on that belief to be true, but the two are separate. And the belief does not mean anything about you. So just consider this, that it's only with judgment that you can ever be deemed not to be good enough. You know, who's judging? Who knows? It's an internal judgment. We're judging ourselves. Though we may have taken this on from our parents or somebody else, but it's an internal thought that we take to be true. Now, the belief may be true. For instance, if I want to fly a plane, I could think I'm not good enough to be a pilot. And actually, that's true. But it's just that I need the skills and resources to do it. And the skills and resources are the things that can provide the safety for you to move forwards out of your belief. Okay, so the last thing I want you to know is that it will feel uncomfortable to move away from it. See that properly. So we want to tackle this belief. But whenever we challenge this belief, we're going to come out of our comfort zone and we will experience fear. And that sensation of fear is what stops us taking action. Because as human beings, this is classic, as human beings, we seek pleasure and we avoid pain. In fact, we avoid 50% of our emotions, really, the ones that we don't like, because the brain craves safety. And it won't knowingly put itself in a position of danger or the unknown without some other support, without some other way that it feels safe. And the skills and resources is what you can put in place. We're going to go into that later and identify those. Let's have a look at how it shows up. Okay, so you feel that nothing you do is good enough. And this can apply to your house. You know, house isn't good enough. Your job's not good enough. Your partner actually sometimes isn't good enough. You haven't got enough money. You can feel responsible for other people's happiness. Beat yourself up for past mistakes. Feel that you're not as good as other people. Want to please others before yourself. Let yourself down before letting other people down. So you may do something you really don't want to do because you don't want to let somebody else down. Play down your strengths or even not know what strengths you have. Feel you don't deserve good things, so you don't give yourself good things. Have anxiety about what you might do wrong. Not realize your own worth or invest in yourself. Look for others' approval. Give up on things before having a chance for success. So how many times have you started courses and just not followed them through? So those are the ways that it plays out in our life. So I just want to summarize some things about this belief. So the belief is set up in childhood. It doesn't need to drive you now you are a capable, resourced adult. And it will drive you as long as it's subconscious and it's not brought up into the consciousness. We don't get rid of it we disempower it, and we do this by practicing acceptance and even welcoming it and thanking it for keeping us safe. So the aim of the exercise I'm going to go through with you is to create some choice for you and some possibilities outside that belief of I'm not good enough. So the journey that we're going through today is we're going to explore, we're going to investigate and really get under the skin of I'm not good enough. We're going to then look at our feelings, the emotions that are attached to it, and practice acceptance. We're going to look at the possibilities that lie outside that belief for you. And then we're going to write a new story and look at what skills and resources can keep us safe. So I want you to come to it with compassion, with curiosity, and put your self-judgment to one side, just in this little bubble that we have today. Just observe what comes up for you. If there are feelings and thoughts that come up that feel uncomfortable, just notice them and notice what sensation you have in your body. It's a self-reflective exercise, this. And be as honest as you can and take responsibility for what you are allowing. Let me stop that share. Okay, so listen to the questions and pause the video after each one while you answer. Okay, let's go. So first of all, get your pen and paper ready by your side. We're going to take some breaths in to relax and calm our nervous system. So I'd like you to take 3 deep and slow breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Close your eyes if you'd like to. And as you do this, just become aware of your toes and your heels on the floor and the parts of your body that touch the chair or your seat where you are seated. Become aware of your internal organs, your stomach, your chest. Relax your face. Relax your whole body. Let everything drop. Shoulders, your tummy can just flop, your legs. Just let everything relax now, so you can feel calm, relaxed and calm. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and we'll start exploring what lies underneath the I'm not good enough or I'm not enough belief. Oh, now I feel calm. Okay, I'd like you to think of a specific area. Think of a specific area where you're aware that the not good enough or not enough belief has an impact on you that you would like to change. And ask yourself, what are you not good enough for? And try to be exact, try and pin it down. And I'd like you to write that down. I'm not good enough for, or to, and one of mine is I'm not good enough to start a business. And let me just share my screen with you for a minute. And I can show you what I want you to do. So just write down, I'm not good enough for, or to, whatever it is for you. And then where exactly are you not good enough or not enough for this? So for me, it would be I'm not organized enough, I'm not clever enough, I'm not dedicated enough to start a business. So just write down 2 or 3 things that underlie that not good enough belief. Now, I want you to go through them one by one and ask, are they true? Now, I'm not looking for them to be true or not true. I'm just asking you to question, okay? Are they true? And very often when you do this, there's going to be one that is quite sticky that you think, yeah, that's true. And I'd like you to choose whichever one is the most sticky for you, that resonates, to use to explore in the next section, and then write it down. Now, I'm going to ask you 7 questions, and I'd like you to write your answers down and pause the video after each question so that you give yourself as much time as you need to write the answers down. And the first question is, how does it turn up? How does it show up in your life? How does it show up in your life? So pause the video and record your answer. Question 2 is, how does it keep you stuck? How does it keep you stuck? The third question is, what has it or could it cost you? And be specific. So number 3, what has it or could it cost you? And be specific. The fourth question is, what causes you to doubt yourself? What causes you to doubt yourself? Question number 5, how do you keep it in place? So this goes back to our needing to keep congruent to our rules, to our beliefs. How have you validated this belief so that it keeps appearing to be true to you? What do you do that keeps it alive and keeps the story running? So what do you do that keeps this belief alive and keeps the story running? How have you validated it? Question 6, why is it important for you to be free of it now? Why is it important for you to be free of it now? Question 7 is, can you think of any ways that this belief might help you or protect you? Can you think of any ways that this belief might help you or protect you? Okay, now, when I did this, quite recently actually, I felt some real discomfort come up in my body. So I'd like you to get in touch with any sensations and any discomfort that arises for you when you think of how this belief drives you and what it costs you and how it keeps you small. So just take a moment to really locate that belief in your body. So this feeling is what stops you from taking action So we want to avoid this discomfort, and so we don't take action. And so the exercise I'm going to do with you is quite powerful to enable you to feel it and accept it, and even to give it some love. I want you to hold out your hands, cup your hands like that in front of you. Close your eyes and imagine yourself in a situation, a real life situation where you have felt love. So either when you felt very loved, you felt love for someone else, something else, in a situation where you've just been consumed by love. And really imagine it with all your powers of imagination, okay? How it feels to feel that love, to be loving, to be loved, to be love. And I want you to fill up your hands with that love as if it was a warm golden liquid. Fill your hands right up to the brim of that feeling of love. Just allow yourself to indulge in this. And when your hands are brimming full, I want you to take that love and put it over the sensation in your body and to give yourself that love. And feel it just now being melting into your body, into that area of discomfort. And breathe it in. Breathe it in. Breathe it all the way into your body. Allow it just to fill you up. Fill yourself up with love. I'm really getting into this, as you can see. And stay here for as long as you like. Just pause the video if you want and just stay here with this feeling. And know, and this is what's super brilliant about this, know that it is in your power to generate this feeling at any moment. That is powerful. That is powerful. You can generate this feeling. Okay, so let's come back to the belief that you work with. I'm feeling all emotional. Come back to the feeling you work with. And you can use the same belief that you had at the beginning. You can use your blanket belief. You can use the specific beliefs that you uncovered. But I'd like you to just choose one and list all the times, all the situation and the evidence when this has not been true. So anything that counters this negative belief, okay, any past moments where it hasn't been true for you, pause the video and write them down. Now, I'd like you to use the play sheet that I have sent you with this recording, and picture a specific situation when this belief that you held to be true held you back and produced an outcome that was not what you wanted. Okay, so pick a specific situation where any of those beliefs that you held, that you thought to be true, produced an outcome that was not what you wanted. Okay, so identify that situation and use the sheet that I've given you to record your answers to the questions that I'm going to ask you. Okay. Now, again, pause the video to write your answers. So the first one, number one, box one, what were your thoughts in this situation when that belief came up for you? Write down the thoughts that held you back. Box number two, with those thoughts, what were your feelings? Either emotions or sensations, but what were your feelings? Box number three, what was your behavior? So what did you do with the thoughts and the feelings that you had? What did you actually do? Box number four, what was the end outcome? So what happened that you would have preferred not to have happened? What was the end outcome? Now, I want you now to just what NLP calls change your state. So I want you to shake, and you can get up and shake and, you know, dance around, just shake your body like a mad person, stretch. Okay, just pull yourself out of the feeling and the state that you were in. Dance. Okay, and then sit back down, get your pen and paper. And I've got some more questions for you. So number five, box number five, is what would you have liked to have happened? So what end outcome would you really have loved to have happened? What's your desired outcome? Okay. What would you have loved to have happened? Write that down and pause. Number six, in order to have got that outcome, how would you have had to behave? So what would you have had to do to create that outcome? So in order for that outcome to have happened, how would you have to behave? What would you have to do to create that outcome? And pause. Box number seven, to behave in that way, how would you need to see yourself? So what sort of a person would you need to be? So to behave in that way, what sort of a person do you need to be? What sort of a person behaves in that way? And box number eight, to see yourself as that sort of a person, what would you need to think? What story would you tell yourself? So to see yourself as that sort of a person, what would you need to think? What story would you tell yourself? Using the insight from that last exercise, use your imagination. Okay, I want you just to play here. This is a creative writing exercise. And write a beautiful and true story. That's from Untamed by Glennon Doyle, if anyone's read that. Write a beautiful and true story of who you would be without the belief and what would be happening. So who would you be without that belief? You don't believe it. It doesn't exist. What would be happening? What would it look like? What would it sound like? What would it feel like? What's happening? How are you feeling? What's your experience? And what are the consequences? So imagine it as vividly as you can, and just write a few lines or as much as you like. Just let it flow from your imagination. Pause the video to do this. Having done that, having written that new story, how does it feel? So just breathe in that feeling, a bit like we breathed in the love earlier. Just breathe in that feeling and let that feeling fill you up. Just a minute or so, just let that feeling, if you're in touch with that feeling, let it fill you up and just inhabit that for a little bit. Okay, 4 more questions. Knowing you are a capable and resourceful woman, and you are in your adult form, what new belief would serve you better? So knowing that you are a capable and resourceful woman, what new belief would serve you better? Just write that down. What skills, capabilities, and resources can you cultivate to move into this new story and this new belief and provide the safety that as a human being you crave? So what skills and capabilities and resources can you cultivate to move into this new story and new belief? What message does your wise self or future self have for you? So what message does your wise self have for you? And the very last question, what one baby step of action will you take to disempower this belief? What baby action step will you take to disempower this belief? I want you to look at exactly what you will do. So you might sort of say, I'm going to research my idea, but I want you to be really granular. What exactly is the first thing? So I'm going to open up my computer and put this in the search bar, and I'm going to make notes. So just think, what is the very first thing you are going to do, and when are you going to do it? Okay, the first baby step. I hope you enjoyed that, the unpicking and unlocking of that belief so that it doesn't have to drive you and hold you back any longer. Now, as I said earlier, that came from the courage part of the Freedom Formula program that I run, and I'd like to just tell you a little bit about it if you're interested. The Freedom Formula is a transformational program for women to help them get clarity on their purpose and to live it. The program is made of 4 steps. It's quite structured, it's concrete. First of all, it's clarity. So you get clarity on who you are, because if you are going to really live your purpose, I see that as an active expression of just who you are. So who you are and your purpose are one, really, which is what makes it such an amazing thing to be able to do, because you're energized and you are free just to be you and express that as something that you do. And it doesn't have to be your job. It doesn't have to be a livelihood. It can be living in the woods. It's just about getting in touch with really who you are, what your why is, and what you want. So that's clarity. Courage is when we get out of our own way. So we identify the self-sabotage. We have tools and techniques to work through it. You look at the beliefs that are holding you back. Look at imposter syndrome. And we work in a very structured way. There's a library of resources that you work through, and you work with me in one-to-one coaching to really get underneath that and make sure that we disempower those things and they don't stop you. Confidence is when you start internalizing your strengths, your abilities, your capabilities, you build your skills. And the confidence part is really about a shift from the external to the internal. You are not getting your validation from outside anymore because you know who you are, you know what you have, you know what you're good at, and you know what you're capable of. And then commitment is commitment to action. And that is when you really are ready to go out and live your purpose. There are lots of techniques that I share about calming the nervous system so that you can take action despite fear. And also concrete steps to look at exactly what you want from a practical point of view and from an emotional point of view. Now, sandwiching this is self-care, because self-care is the foundation of all growth. So that is the very first thing we do, to put in morning and evening routines, and you're held accountable for that, but so that you look after yourself. And then the other part, and if there is a magic ingredient, it's this: it's really getting in touch with your presence. When you can access that, you have access to so much wisdom and so much intelligence, and it's here for all of us. Very often when I work with clients, if we have a sticky issue, I'll ask them really to get still and then speak from a different place, and it is a completely different perspective. So there's mindfulness meditation and presence techniques that run all the way through the program. So it's really, as I say here, knowing yourself, your why, your vision, knowing what you want, stopping self-sabotage, trusting your inner sense, taking inspired action with ease. And this is all within a step-by-step program with a concrete pathway. So if I'm sending you a PowerPoint which has some client stories in it. I've worked with so many women and enabled them to actually free themselves so that they can do what they want. And the great thing is that often if they do that in one part of their life, then it spills over into other parts of your life. So once you feel that confidence and you get over yourself, you can really fly in all sorts of in all parts of your life. And yes, if you're really tired of living a half life and your heart's not in what you do, and there's something more here that you want to express, then just get in touch and get a delivery a delivery of love, of energy, of freedom. Get a discovery call and you can find out how we might work together. So go and play. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope to speak to you soon.